This is the Pixel 10 Pro XL, and this is the Pixel 10.
And in this video, I'm going to unbox each of these phones, give my first impressions, set one of them up, and go over a couple little tips and tricks that I like to share with anybody who's new to Pixel. To start with, we're going to take a look at the Pixel 9 Pro XL in the color Moonstone. Something I really like that Google does is really lean into the recycled material that they use for their phone boxes. I really like the minimal element of it all. So when I was ordering this phone, I was a little unsure about what the Moonstone would actually be like in person, but honestly, I really like it. Without a reference next to it, this might look really gray, but when you compare it to the iPhone 16 Pro in natural, you can see how blue this Moonstone color really is. Inside the box, you get a USB-C to C charging cable, no brick, which is pretty normal nowadays. Now in the top half of the box, you do get an instruction booklet, and because I'm in Canada, you do get a SIM ejector. The back of the phone has a frosted matte back finish, which is similar to the Pixel 9 Pro series from last year. At this point, being a regular iPhone user, I'm pretty used to the Pro phones having a matte finish, so it is pretty nice to see the similar design between both of the phones. I do really like the accent choice of the sides to the back and the camera bump. The sides of the phone this year are made of aluminum, whereas last year they were made of stainless steel. It's also pretty rumored at this point that Apple is going to stop using titanium and going to shift to an aluminum body as well. I find it pretty interesting that two different phone manufacturers are making the same move at the same time. Last year, the Pixel 9 Pro XL had a 5060 mAh battery in it. The Pixel 10 Pro XL bumps that up to 5200 mAh. So I'm pretty excited to see what the battery life is like on this phone, especially coming from an iPhone 16 Pro. The camera bar at the top is pretty similar to last year's phone, though there is one change, and that's the telephoto lens. In the Pixel 10 Pro, the telephoto lens is now optically stabilized, which is what allows this phone to do the 100x ProRes zoom, which is up from last year's 30x. Other than that, all the cameras in this phone are identical to last year's Pixel 9 Pro XL. I did watch most of the keynote from Google this year with Jimmy Fallon, and I know that there are a ton of camera features, most of which are software. Alright, so we got the phone up and running, and every time this little gear here bounces, I can feel the haptic engine vibrating, and it feels really good. I remember that being something that Google improved years ago, and it's always good to see, or feel, a good haptic engine on a flagship phone. Now, some people will use their phone without a case, and I get it. It's a beautiful looking phone. While I'd love to be one of those people, I just can't do it. Plus, this phone is a lot larger than what I've used in the past, so I do have concerns about dropping it. If you're relatively new to my channel, you'll know that in the past, I've covered a lot of phone accessories. Mostly cases. One case that's been the most useful overall has been the MagBack Elite case, which MagBack was nice enough to send over to me. In the box, you get the case as well as a screen protector, which has really good coverage and works perfectly with this case because it actually sits slightly under the lip of the case. This gives good protection for your phone and also protects the most vulnerable part of the screen protector, which is the edge. And there we go, a perfect installation with a couple little bubbles to rub out, but those will also fill in over time. Like you just saw, the box that the case comes in doubles as the screen protector installation tool, which is pretty clever. Inside the case is a microfiber lining to keep the back of your phone scratch-free. Each corner on the bottom of the case has a place to connect a lanyard, so they've kept left-handed people in mind, which is thoughtful. The Elite has shock-absorbing corner pockets, which are tested to withstand drops from up to 12 feet high. On the sides of the case are side grips, which give you confidence holding onto your phone, and are one of several parts that can be customized. By default, all these parts are black, but are also available in blue, light gray, and red. On the back is this finger loop that pops out when you need it, and tucks away when you're done with it. It lays pretty flush, so any magnetic accessories or wireless charging work without any issue. At the bottom is what's called a pinky pillow, which I would also call a pinky saver, because this phone is bigger than anything I've used, so my pinky is going to be doing a lot of heavy lifting. It's also pulling double duty, because it keeps the charging port blocked from getting full of debris like pocket lint, which is more common than you'd think. The case also has a kickstand built into the bottom, which can be used in portrait or landscape mode. One of my favorite features are the super strong magnets on this case, which let you stick it to a bunch of different metal surfaces. If you'd like to pick up the MagBack Elite case, I'll leave a link in the description and a discount code that you can use to save some money. Thanks again to MagBack for sending over this case and for sponsoring the video. So I'm just about to register my fingerprint, and there's something new here that I don't remember being there in the previous generations of the phone, which is to set up with a screen protector. With past Android phones, I've had issues setting up ultrasonic fingerprint scanners, so I'm curious to see if there's an improvement in this phone. And I'd say so far it's working a lot better than it has in the past. I don't normally like to because I feel like it's not as secure, but I'm going to set up the face unlock for now. So I'm just wrapping up the setup, but here are two things that I think majorly improve my experience with the Pixel. The first thing we're going to say yes to is identifying music with now playing. What this essentially does is listen for music that's playing around you. So an example being, I would go to a coffee shop to pick up a coffee, music's playing in the background, and when I look down at my phone, it's showing me on screen the song that's playing in the coffee shop. You don't have to think about asking your phone what song is playing. It just listens and then it keeps record of everything that it hears playing around you as far as the music. It's nice too because it keeps record of all the songs playing in all the different places that you've been. So if you think back, oh, I really liked that song at this place, you can scroll back and easily find that song. The second thing I really like to set up is always on display. I like this because I get to see notifications on my screen of what's coming in, and not in a distracting way. All right, we're all set up, and this is pretty familiar for me. So in recent years, I've used the Pixel 7 and the Pixel 9 Pro just a little bit last year. And if you've come from using Pixels in the past, then all of the software is pretty familiar. It's pretty minimal and pretty simple, but that's something that I really like. At this point, it's just initially set up, and the phone feels super snappy and quick. Something I remember from last year, and I really appreciate it, is just how bright this Pixel screen can get. The iPhone 16 Pro I've been using for the last year or so has a peak brightness of 2000 nits outside, which you'd think is good, but the phone heats up and dims the brightness more often than I'd really like to admit. So I remember last year using the Pixel 9 Pro for a little bit, and just being so impressed with the 3000 nits of brightness that it could get to outside. And so what's nice this year is that they've bumped it up a little and it goes up to 3300 nits in peak brightness. So I don't imagine having any issues seeing my phone outside, and that's a welcome change. So while filming this, I actually got a message and my 16 Pro is going to be selling later tonight. So before I have to get rid of it, why not do a speaker comparison?
What happened in practice for the Dutch Grand Prix? What happened in practice for the Dutch Grand Prix?
Listening to them both one after another and holding them, there's a little bit more oomph in the low end of the iPhone, to use a technical term. A big update this year with the Pixel 10 series is Pixelsnap, which is essentially MagSafe for Android. This uses an array of magnets on the back to help make sure that your charger is lined up perfectly, giving you the most efficient charging experience. Testing out the strength of the magnets between the iPhone and the Pixel, I might give the iPhone the slightest advantage, but it's splitting hairs. They're pretty much identical. I'm super relieved with all the updates that have happened this year with the Pixel 10 Pro XL, and I'm excited to use this phone up until the iPhone 17 series comes in and I start testing those out. Over the next month or so, I'll be sharing my 2-week experience with this phone, as well as some accessory videos and some tests against the new iPhone 17 Pro Max when that comes out. So if that sounds interesting, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. Oh, you probably want to see the Pixel 10 Pro in jade. Okay, let's get that out of the box and take a quick look. I unboxed this last night, so it's kind of haphazardly put back together. But here's what the Pixel 10 Pro looks like in the jade color. In person, it's much nicer than I thought it would be, but I'm still going to stick with the Pixel 10 Pro XL in the moonstone color. Okay, for real this time. Thanks for hanging out. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you again.